Keeping your doodle still. Let's learn the art and science of collaborative teamwork for doodle grooming. I wanted to start with a few quotes. Again, just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's nonsense. The other one is, people generally see what they look for and hear what they listen for. This is one of my favorite. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. I would like to encourage all of us to listen to understand whenever we see a symptom coming up on our doodles and not to restrain. So before you would label, or we would label doodles to be good girls and good boys and bad girls and bad boys, we would really want to understand and dig a little bit deeper what's going on under that symptom. And before reaching for harnesses, muzzles, your neighbor, 3 other person from the neighborhood, and using all kinds of restraints on your doodle, I would like to encourage you to take a peek what could make your doodle stay calmer and what will make your doodle to wiggle more. Recipe for a still doodle. In a nutshell, this is everything in my pocket. What I do and what I avoid to keep my clients still on my grooming table and to make them cooperate and collaborate with me without using any kind of restraints in general speaking. And that means 99% of the time. So let's take a look. What are these? Let's start with exercise. Since doodles in general are extremely high energy level dogs, they really need exercise. And by exercise, I mean 2 kinds of exercise. One for the mind and also for the body. So in case you take your dog on a walk on leash, then they're gonna sniff around and they can get quite a lot of exercise for their minds. Now that kind of exercise will definitely not gonna be enough, especially on a medium or extremely high energy level doggy, for grooming. They need serious exercise for their body. I'm talking about playing fetch for like 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, taking hikes, doing runs with your doodle before the grooming. Let it be at home or at the groomer. I always ask my clients to take their doggies for runs, walks, play fetch with them in case it's rainy and you don't want to take them outside. But they really need serious exercise, and it is as important as taking your doodle to the grooming appointment. So I know it sounds kind of funny, but actually I'm absolutely serious, because working on a doggy who wiggles like crazy, it's straight up dangerous and it's gonna take forever. So it's not just gonna be more expensive for the doodle mom or dad, but it's gonna be, the whole situation is gonna be more prone to injuries. So whenever a doodle has crazy amount of energy, I'm gonna take that doodle for a fun run in the backyard, or in case it is crazy weather out there, it's gonna be a fun run in the house. And before I would touch any kind of brushes or combs, because the doggy needs to release that kind of pent up energy to stay safe. So keep that in mind. Exercise, a tired doodle, a satisfied mind and body doodle is one of the critical parts of a still doodle recipe. The second one is environment, or shall I say, we're just talking about this the second as the second one. So environment. Given that they are so high energy level ones, whatever is happening around them, let it be you ask them to sit down, they're gonna do it in a snap, like super fast. But in case there's gonna be distractions, they're gonna respond to those distractions just as fast. So you first, especially for beginners and puppies, you need to eliminate all kinds of environmental distractions like sounds, movement, smells, or tricky surfaces. So basically what I'm saying is, whenever you see any doggies getting groomed in facilities where they have ginormous glass windows where you can take a look and walk by, if you want to give or make the day of that doodle or that doggy on the grooming table and the groomer there, you don't walk there. You take a peek from behind one of the aisles or shelves they have there, but you don't walk there because any kind of distraction will make the doggies wiggle more. And especially if you are the owner or the mom, when most of the time, and I'm talking about most of the time, you are a distraction from grooming perspective for the dog. Now, what happens if you're grooming your doodle at home? Since they are constantly with you, it's not going to be that surprise. It's not going to be the ginormous peak seeing you again after 5 minutes or 1 hour or something like that. So, for example, if you get home from work and you want to work on your doggy later, let them go wild for a few minutes, and after an exercise, you can start grooming them. Because in case you come home, put your bag down and grab the brush and start working on them, they're not going to cooperate because they have a need to connect you, to meet you, to greet you, and they're going to go wild. And you need to let them go wild before you would grab the brush and go wild on them with the brush. So environmental distractions like sounds, hearing the doorbell, hearing other people moving around, hearing other doggies barking, kitty cats meowing out there, or squirrels going wild in the backyard, they will react to those. So as much as possible, try to remove those from the environment where you're trying to groom your doggy, because that's going to help you incredibly. Smells. You can make smells either work for you or work against you. The same applies to sounds and movements. Some of my clients are totally fine taking a look out there and see and watch squirrels and my kitty cats chasing lizards out there. Some doggies go wild, so I need to close the blinds, so they're not going to be able to see what's going on out there because they get so distracted. So with smells, you can also make them work for you or kind of against you. What do I mean? If you pick a treat, a doggy treat, in case your dog's love language is treats, then if you pick a treat which has very strong smell and kind of moist, then your doggy will focus on that big time, and they're gonna probably disregard whatever is going on around them because they are focusing on the smell of the treat, and they really want to get that, so they will work for you for the treat. Now, another environmental component of a still doodle is surfaces. Whenever you're working on your doodle, you want a surface which is not slippery, your doodle is comfortable there, and you can reach your doodle's areas where you want to work on in that situation. Now, oftentimes I hear that doodles get brushed on the sofa or in bed or on the ground. While it's kind of comfortable for a while for you and probably for the doodle as well, I encourage doodle moms and dads to work on their doodles on flat surfaces while the doodle is standing, preferably. The reason for that is because you really want to track and keep in mind what is going on and where you are working on. So in case your doodle is flat on the couch, you're not going to be able to track whether you were working on the flank area as well, or you just brushed the side of the doodle. And it's very, very important to know, because in case you are just working on the side of the doodle all the time, you're not going to brush the inner side of the legs, for example, or the armpits or the belly. And those are very important parts, and we need to reach all spots on the doodle to make sure that all the tangles and mats are gone. So the surfaces you are working on kind of either help you to reach and take notes about which areas you are working on or you need to work on, or they're gonna help you to aggravate tangles and mats on specific areas, like it's very hard to reach the inner thighs while you're brushing your dog on the couch, in my opinion, but you might gonna be able to, I'm not sure. But keep that in mind. The surface what you pick to brush or groom your doodle will again work with you or work against you. Elimination. Let's talk about this part. It's also a pretty generic situation, but it's a constant and super often mistake what I see with doodle moms and dads, that they just walk in and don't let their doodles to sniff. Even when you're late to the grooming appointment, it's critical to let the doggy sniff and pee and poop, even if they peed and pooped before you got there. Same applies to home grooming. Before you would jump and grab the brush or comb or whatever part you're doing in the grooming, you need not just the doggy, but also you to go pee and poop. It's super important to make sure that you either did it or you don't make sure you don't have to do it. So same applies to your doodle. Oftentimes I call this the turn on button. Like they sniff around and it takes a while for them. So don't be afraid of taking 5-10 minutes before to make sure that they go in case they need to. Oftentimes, in case you try to play with your doodle and do not let them sniff around by themselves without any kind of toys, treats around, they're not gonna go. They want to play with you and they forget about they need to pee, and then they're gonna show you symptoms which will suggest that they have to go. So keeping treats and toys away and you being fairly chill, trying not to engage in eye contact, you let the doggy sniff around and pee and poop. And you double check that it's there. It's not just like they were running around and nothing happened. And that way you're going to be able to check mark this part and go one step further to still doodle. The fourth part, I think, is going to be doodle love languages. What are those? So Gary Chapman came up with a book a long time ago, a few decades, I shall say, probably, that it was for humans, and it was called 5 Love Languages. And I really, really like that book. And since then, he came out with several more, with more details, love languages for teenagers and for couples and for mothers and all kinds of books. They're awesome. And I came up with this doodle love languages phrase because doodles have love languages and we really need to learn about them and figure out which one is the strongest for our doodle and make them work for both of us. Let's run through them and we're going to talk about them later in details. The first one is treats. Some doggies go wild for treats. So in case your doodle goes wild for treats, then I would say you're going to have one of the easiest cases. In case your doggy goes wild for toys, you're going to need to make sure that you are picking a toy which will keep your doodle still. So a ball might not be your best choice in case it's a bouncy one. But you're going to probably be good to go with, for example, a carrot-shaped squeaky toy in case your ears can handle that. So keep in mind what kind of toy you are using so your doodle will be comfortable enough and work with you and stay there for you while you're working on him or her. Playtime and breaks. Many people underestimate the power of playtime and breaks. I take breaks before the grooming, of course, pee breaks, fun runs, and hourly breaks meanwhile I'm grooming, at least. In case the dog is showing sign that they need a break, then we will take that break. That will help huge to build trust and build your communication with the doodle, and they will be way more cooperative. Even if you just take like a minute break or 30 seconds, having your doodle jump off the table and play a little and go back up there, it's going to refresh their minds, and so will yours. And at least that's the case with me. And they're gonna be way more active for you, working for you and with you after those breaks. So in case you or your doodle, it's super important to be aware whether you or your doodle need a break, then take it. It's not a rush. You don't have to finish everything the same day or in 1 hour or in 2 hours. Pay attention how your doodle is behaving and how patient you are, how patient your doodle is, and dare to take that break or playtime. Because whenever you do, both of you will just recharge, and it's going to be super, super important to keep your friendship on a nice level. Rubs. Some doggies go wild for rubs, and they are totally fine. They don't need treats, toys, nothing else but butt rubs, belly rubs, ear rubs, all kinds of rubs. And if your doodle is like that, then you're in a fairly lucky situation because you don't have to use moist treats that much, but your doodle will work for rubs, ear rubs, chin rubs, belly rubs, whatever their favorite spot is, or between the ears, behind the top of the head, whatever kind of rubs, or the chest rubs, whatever kind of rubs they like, then you can provide them, or someone else can provide them while you're working on them. For example, in case the doggy is a little bit ticklish, but someone is rubbing their chest or belly while I'm trimming the paw hair off of the doggy's feet, then they're gonna be one happy puppies while I get stuff done. So you can combine all of these 5 love languages for doodles to get them work for you. And once you learn to dance with your doodle for grooming a little bit more, and you're gonna get the confidence, you're gonna be able to use the love languages a little bit less frequently. For example, for puppies, you need a lot of treats, a lot of playtime, a lot of breaks, a lot of rubs, and a lot of toys, depending on whatever they like, to make them cooperate, especially a lot of breaks, so they're not gonna get overwhelmed by all the grooming steps they're gonna experience. So you can mix and match whatever your doggy likes. I would really like to ask you to make an order for your doggies, and for each doodle, which one they like best, the second and the third, so you're gonna be able to use all these powerful tools in different situations. For example, in case your doggy loves treats and then they are having a little bit hard time letting you take a peek at their private part, then someone can give them treats on the front while you take a peek and check for mats around their butt area, for example. That's gonna be very, very helpful. Another part of the Steel Doodle recipe is the method you are using. Now, even if you are using the right kind of tool for your doodles, coat, hair length, hair amount, hair type, the way you're using it might be the reason why the doodle is not cooperating. So what can you do? We're going to talk about gentle grooming methods and the workflow, the gentle grooming workflow. What should you do the first, the second, the third, and fifth, and 10th in the workflow to make sure that your doodle is comfortable and you're not pulling on the skin while brushing, for example, or while combing, because oftentimes people are just using a comb, and combs are great for checking, but combs are not so great or not great at all for removing tangles and mats. They are awesome to find them, but whenever it comes to removing them or opening them up, loosening them up, a brush is going to be your best bet. Or in case the tangle or mat is crazy thick and tangled, then it needs to be trimmed out. So the methods we are using for prevention and maintenance are going to be critical, and we need to make sure that we are using the right kind of equipment, and not just the equipment, but also our method is the best and suits the doggy's needs. Care provider's experience with grooming, with table manners, and with the present doodle you are trying to work on. Our experience makes or breaks the whole thing. Now, in case you know about all of these steps for Steel Doodle recipe, you are already far more advanced in knowledge than an average people, shall I say, even an average groomer. Because oftentimes groomers are taught how to trim, how to do a haircut, and the environment and the method part are not covered that deeply, so they are opting in to use all kinds of restraints to keep the doodle, I would not say cooperate, but to tolerate whatever they are doing to them. So your experience, already what you heard here in this section, will give you a huge advantage to keep your doodle still. And we're going to talk about what you can do about grooming. What are the tips and tricks for grooming, so you can get the experience you need before jumping on and doing stuff to your doodle. And you're gonna learn about table manners, how your movements and behavior help you to keep the doodle still or encouraging them to jump off of the table and move with you. The third part will be how you can find the right kind of approach and tailor your behavior, in equipment and environment, everything, all kinds of things we were talking about here, to fit that specific doodle's needs. Because some doodles love treats, like I said, some doodles are fine not peeing for 6 hours, some doodles go wild for movements, some really do not care. So you can tailor all these little tools we were talking about, or we are going to talk about more in details later on. So you're going to be able to present the needed expertise to be able to keep your doodle still. The next part, and the last one here, is the doodle's past experience. Super, super important part. Now, imagine yourself, you just got through a breakup. So you're very, very sensitive. And imagine yourself, you just got into a relationship and it's working out great, and you are with the person for a couple of months now, and you are just over the moon. Those two experiences are absolutely different. And whenever you get exposed to grooming, where let's talk about doggies from the doggies perspective, that's going to be critical. Absolutely critical what kind of experiences they had with the grooming and what kind of experiences they had with the person, you, who is trying to work on them. So let's say your doodle had awesome experience at the groomer first, and they are more than welcome, more than happy to work with you. Let it be brushing, combing, or nurturing, whatever you try to do for them. In case you're working on a beginner doggy, that can be a little bit different because they have no clue. But I really, really like to work on beginners because you can set the doodle, you can set up the doodle really to cooperate and to like everything, because the methods we're going to talk about will keep them comfortable and they're not going to get a bad experience. So you don't have to worry about desensitizing the doodle to different kind of grooming steps. What is in case accidents happen while grooming? Now those leave marks in the doodle's mind. They're going to remember. And we really need to work hard to desensitize them for the specific grooming step which they got injured. So it's super, super important for one to avoid accidents as much as possible. We're going to talk about how you can keep accidents or the possibility of accidents the lowest. And we're going to talk about how you can prevent injuries, because you can absolutely prevent them. You can keep an eye out for all of these, what we're talking about. And environment is a huge, huge point which either makes accidents and injuries happen or helps you avoid them. So, and also the exercise for the doggy, because a calm, still doodle in a distraction-free environment will less likely to have accidents and injuries, lot less likely than a doodle who is tightened on the table with a lot of people and other doggies running around and barking, and who did not get any exercise. So all of this, keeping in mind all of this, is an awesome way to keep doodles comfortable. We're going to keep this recipe in mind. We're going to talk about all of these in real life cases. I just wanted to run through them so you're going to get a better understanding of what kind of parts we are going to cover in more details later down the road, and which are the steps which either makes your doodle stay there or move with you.